Today, I wanted to share with you guys on the importance of knowing the weight of the equipment that you guys use. I think this is often overlooked, especially those getting older or having health issues. I think this is very critical in the span of your fishing activities. To be honest, I think people again overlook, they just power through it, but you really want to save your wrist, your fingers, your hands, especially if you have family history of arthritis. Um, yeah, like there's ways to prevent it. How? There's, other than health factor, I'm talking solely about fishing. So let me show you this 8 ounce, right? Obviously, it's going to be 8 ounce. But when you are fishing, you're not only fishing with this 8 ounce, you're basically carrying, for instance, Avid, which will be 15 ounce plus the 8 ounce. And then you include, I go very light on my rod. Um, for instance, sorry about that. I use a Tailwalk, Sakurama, something like this, a jigging rod like this, which would total about less than 30 ounces. But a lot of people, they go way beyond this. But for me, sometimes I go a lot less than 8 ounce. I start with 4 ounce, 4 to 5 ounce usually for saltwater fishing, deep sea fishing. I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're using very rugged, heavy, lines. Like I use like 18, somewhere between 15 and 25 pounds in the summer. If I'm fishing for bluefish or striper, I would go heavier, like 40 pounds. But I've noticed that a lot of people go like 50 pounds. Like using mono 50 pounds is crazy. I mean, I understand that if you're going for a specific fish, you could definitely use those, whether it's mono or braid, whatnot. But for most of the saltwater fishing, especially for black sea bass, flounder, and whatnot, like porgy, you don't need that. So what I do is I try to go lighter, which would mean I would use something like this, which is about 10 ounce. So in total, let me see, I would get about, give and take, 23 ounce, which is much less. I try to avoid something like this, huge plastic. It's definitely not worth it. I completely understand it. When I was younger, when I wasn't before I had career, it's not cheap to get other reels, so I would buy cheap ones like this. This is about 30 ounce, but it's much bigger. So you'll be surprised if you're holding on to this, cusping it, right? For 8 hour trip, you're not fishing 8 hours, but then at least for 2 to 3 hours, you're holding on to this with those heavy rod that matches up with this, right? I would go with this, right? Why bother? This one, at least you could cusp it in your hand, unless you have a huge hand. My hand's fairly big, or average. Too big. Okay, it's not worth it. What's really worth it, this is why I go Baitcast, because boom, 20 ounce. The reel itself, Baitcast right here, 7.1 ounce is what you're getting. It's actually below 7 ounce, 6 something ounce with the original part, the paddle handle, which is much lighter, that came with this. I replaced it because this gives me a little bit more strength. My fingers don't, and my wrist doesn't wear out as much. And this TX2 is great for salt water as well. I think this is up to like, I think it's like 20, 30 pounds. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, that's the drag. Comparable to something like this. Is it comparable to this? No, but unless you're fishing for tuna all the time, or if you require trolling while fishing, you don't really need that. This would be perfect. So that's what I'm saying. You got option to go very light And that's something that you guys should really consider. I think people really overlook this. And once your fingers go, especially when you're in your 40s, even your 30s, when you start feeling the little numbness and tingle in your arm and wrist or even fingers, that's because you guys are carrying fishing all the time with these heavy, overcompensated reels that weighs 18 ounce. If your reel is anything above 20 ounce, like unless you're fishing for tuna, you're overcompensating. So my biggest one of the this is the one I would use for deep drop fishing, like cod fishing, which I don't plan to get saltwater. I mean electric reels, right? Most people get electric reels. I would use this, and even then, this one is about below 20 ounce. It's about 18 ounce right there. So that's what I want to share with you guys. Keep that in mind. Your rod, the sinker, the overall weight that you're using. I would say keeping it within 20 ounce is ideal if you want to fish for a long time. I don't have any issues, but I know older generation people that have been fishing for a while with rugged reels, overcompensating with really, instead of these super light, carbon fiber 5 ounce rod, people are carrying one of those Penn 1980s rods that weighed itself like 12 ounces, which is crazy. So yeah, if you guys want to fish beyond retirement, yeah, definitely go light. Try. I mean, I'm not against this. That's why I bought it, right? I like to keep rugged, real fishing rod and reel, but most of the fishing time, I would use these bait casters just so once you retire, you could continue to fish without any health issues. Anyways, if you guys have any questions or other recommendations, leave a comment and I'll talk to you guys later.